So we are live.
Live. Hey everyone, and welcome to a very different edition of the Nerdy Up North podcast. It's a nerdy podcast and it's hosted by Northern Nerds. I am one of your hosts, Sam.
And I'm the other host, Paul. And Sam is right. This is a very special episode of the Nerdy Up North podcast. Normally you do see us coming live from YouTube, or if you like the famous Goodwill, as have got him on here, you'll normally see his lovely face on Twitch. We are testing something out tonight, so hopefully it'll work. We are going live on Facebook. So hi, Facebook people, or Facebook nerds, shall we say.
Hi.
And we are joined again by the lovely Dan from, like I say, the Facebook page Bleeding Marvelous as well. She had so much fun last time. She wanted to come back and talk shit again with us, I guess. But yes.
You could say that, yeah. Glutton for punishment.
You love it and you know
I love
it.
Certainly. So, yes. So hopefully people can hear us and, like I say, are coming through okay.
If someone in the chat can just give like a thumbs up just to make sure. Laura, I've just seen your comment. Give us just a hey, just so we know that everything's working. It seems to be because I can see the captions.
Cool. That's fine.
It's taken every word down, so.
Oh, well, that's fine. So, yes, we thought, like I say, we'll jump in and do a bit of a discussion, because normally we do leave it till the end of the season to talk about a show. But I'll be honest, this one has been a little bit more special than normal. This one's blown me away with my expectations and what I thought. So I really wanted to do this after the first episode to be honest. When the first episode came out, I was like, I need to talk about this show. This is just... It felt new, but not new at the same time, if that makes sense. But yes, we are going to be talking about the first 3 episodes of The Last of Us. And I know we had a little bit of talk before we went live as well, that we all have actually watched the first 3 episodes, which is always a good start.
Yes.
So
yes, it is.
Well, let's get
I was just thinking, that's what I was just going to say. I'll get the disclaimer done. Laura has told us we're coming through loud and clear, so that's good to know.
Cool.
Right. So everything discussed in today's episode is our opinions and our opinions alone. If you want to discuss anything from today's episode, please come and join us in the Facebook group where we can have an open discussion. And what we won't have is anyone coming for us and telling us our opinions are wrong. We can all agree to disagree in fandom. So let's keep it fun, keep it kind, and keep the toxic behaviour out of nerdism.
Well said. And I hope you guys are okay. I know it's Friday. It's been the week of the longest weeks as well. So I hope everyone is okay. And thank you for everyone who's joined us in the chat as well. So yes, so I know I've pretty much already started the ball rolling, but how have you found the show so far? So Sammy, I'll go to you first.
It's thrilling.
Mm.
It's thrilling. It's emotional. It's breathtaking. You are right. It's different, but it has such like a familiarity to it. And I don't know if that's because I have played the game and I feel like I'm kind of, I don't want to say at home because I don't want to live there, but it does feel really familiar yet different. And it's been an emotional roller coaster, and it's only 3 episodes in.
Yes.
What can that say about the show? It's 3 episodes.
Mm-hmm. I think we're getting 9 episodes this season. Is that correct?
Yes.
Oh well, then we'll do the next 3, and we'll watch the next 3, and we'll do the same thing again. There you can.
See?
Soutrage.
Continue it. That's always the good thing. But yeah, because I know me, Goodwill, and Sam have all played the game. We have Dan who is new and seen it with a different perspective to us. So, what were your expectations coming? Because you will have heard of the show or heard about the game. Because, like I said, with being a nerd as well, it is an old game as well, which you don't feel like it is. And this has been on the works for like years and years. I know originally it was meant to be a film as well, or movie, shall we say, started in the northern twang.
Movie. We don't know who's watching and might not understand.
It's a film. Film.
So,
yeah. I think for me, I've never been someone who's had time to do sort of a lot of gaming from my perspective, because I've always been more into the art and practical artistry. So I'd sit and draw instead of game.
Yeah.
So that sort of passed me by a bit. But I mean, I'm going to go back here. My first, I had an Atari Lynx I used to play, and then I had a Commodore 64, and then I had a Game Boy, and I had a PlayStation 1. That's where my gaming stopped, on the PlayStation 1. But
So you're
like,
pure. You haven't been muddied in the dirty water of the console wars.
I'm not paying $1,000 for something that's going to collect dust, because I don't really have enough time to dedicate to the games that I think some of them, like this one, would deserve. You know, you've got to be sitting there and you've got to be committed, and I don't feel like I could give it like the time it deserved. And I'm one of these people, I kind of get distracted. I'm a bit magpie-ish. I'm like, oh, shiny thing, and forget I've started that thing, and then so, you know, it's probably good I don't game, because I probably die a lot. So.
To trust us in this game, you do die a lot. I really struggle to not die. That was one of the premises, like one of the memes that we did share was basically this is not a true adaptation. Joel hasn't died 15 times in the first half an hour of this.
That's just me playing it. I'm the worst gamer ever. And then this is one where I had to shout for the husband a few times. I'm stuck.
So what was your expectation when you came into this? Because I know it's came up, but the fanfare that's came about, like, I would put it akin to The Walking Dead, like the level of anticipation around this show.
I have a thing where I try not to watch trailers. I managed to not see a single trailer for the new Ghostbusters Afterlife. Wow. I escaped it. Even in the cinemas, blah, 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 fingers in the ears, hand up. I refused point blank to do it to myself, because I wanted to go in. Because they have a tendency these days, because they want to get you in, they'll put the entire movie in 5 seconds, and you're just like, oh man, there's nothing else.
Yeah.
There is nothing else left of substance. So I stayed away from everything, didn't read any articles of this, didn't look into it. The only thing, like I said, I saw was who they had playing the characters of each person, like Pedro and Nick, and then Anatov, and then Bella Ramsey. And I was like, don't know if they fit. I know Joel's face from just seeing advertising, and I knew Ellie's face. So Bella was a bit of a strange casting from a aesthetic kind of point of view. Oh, that was nice of me, wasn't it? Nice of me.
No, I totally get that. Yeah.
But she's got the mannerisms, I'm told. People have been saying she's got that weird thing going that she's supposed to have. So
you can say the F word as well as Ellie can, because Ellie is such a dirty mouth, that girl. And she really can spit it out just like Ellie did. I always thought, because when we first played, I mean, how old's the game now?
10 years old.
10.
Yeah.
Bloody hell.
Yeah,
okay.
We are old.
Oh my god, we are. I do remember when I didn't play it when it first came out. I know Ant's got it straight away, but I played it like later on, probably around about 2016, I think. And I always, looking at Ellie, I pictured someone completely different, but that person obviously has got older, and it wouldn't have worked. But I do see Bella Ramsey as Ellie.
She's probably the version we're getting now is more aggressive than the Ellie we got in the game. The game Ellie was a little bit softer, a little bit.
She was a bit chill.
More one, like say the companionship and like say like kind of having it out with Joel. But I'm not disappointed with the casting at all. Like I don't think anything is way off the mark, and the changes they made from the game, it's enhanced the experience of it. But going back to like say the experience, like expectations before. So what were your expectations, Goodwill?
Video game adaptations, as we all know, is a fickle thing. When it comes to recent times, all you have to do is look at Halo, look at The Witcher, and there's always that discourse of, oh well, they're not sticking to the source material, they're not sticking to the games, and this that. For me, I was aware of it. I knew they were looking for a movie at first, and when I heard about that, I was of a strong opinion that this should not be a movie; it should be a TV show, as I feel a lot of video games should be, because they are not. I mean, there are some video games where you're like, yeah, that should be a movie, but quite a lot of them, they should be serialized TV shows because, you know, the Last of Us is 20 maybe hours long.
Yeah.
You can't fit that into a 1 hour, 2 hour movie.
It's the same type of thing when they do like an adaptation of like, say, a really long book or like saying, there's always going to be things that they miss out. But with the TV show, they can get like everything in, and sometimes that's, as I said, that's a good thing. Sometimes it can be like a crux as well in different aspects.
So I was aware that obviously HBO had picked it up, so I was like, oh, HBO. You know, I was quite shocked that HBO took that risk.
Really?
I was quite shocked, yeah, because I thought it would have gone to Netflix or Amazon Prime. I was very shocked that HBO took it up. So I was like, oh, okay. So it made me, it made me pay attention a little bit. So I was like, right, HBO is serious, and they will, if they're going to do it, they will do it to the best of their abilities.
Yeah.
But I still had that little thing in the back of my head where I was like, but I'm not going to make a judgment. I'm not going to like say, oh, it's a video adaptation, it's going to be crap. So I stayed away. I didn't watch any trailers or anything like that. I just stayed away. And yeah, I think obviously before we get into it, this is possibly the best video game adaptation we have ever had.
I'll go one step further. I think it is the best adaptation from a media presence, like from other than a book that we've had, like full stop. Like say how the close it's stayed true to the soul of the game, but it's not just changing stuff for changing's sake. It's about emphasizing and elaborating and building on that. That's the thing. It feels like a world building. Because I know, again, I'm not going to shit on it, even though, like I say, I have in the past, but where problems we've had with, like say, The Walking Dead first season, first episode, like say, stayed very close to the comics and was really well done, but it kind of shot its load too early. It gave us too many things too quick. Where this, it's kind of giving us little teasers. Like, we've not really seen, like, we've seen glimpses of the clickers, or we've had little attacks, but it's not went too far out there. It's doing things very, very deliberate, and I'm absolutely loving it. And like I say, that the things that they are expanding on is brilliant. And I think, like I say, when they started the episode, the first ever episode, they laid down the groundwork with that first 2 minutes where it's got set in the 70s. And I love how they're doing this as well when they're going back and telling these little tales and showing you emphasis on little things, where they've got these scientists and like you instantly recognize them. I'm not going to say, I'll not get the names right. So you've got the guy out the mummy, the guy
John Hannah, who's absolutely brilliant, and I'm hoping we do see more of him in some type of aspect or some type of role through the season, because he is, like say, a presence. The guy who was with Supernatural, he played one of the demons, and Christoph Heyerdahl. And I've probably completely butchered his last name, but it's Christoph Heyerdahl. Yeah, he was also in Peacemaker. Yes. He was a policeman. Yeah.
Yes. And
that's why I'm here. I know things. I know nothing about the games, but
right, you know everything. But that's the thing. Also the guy who's interviewing, I recognized him straight away from The Big Bang Theory. He's the guy that basically runs the comic book shop for a little bit for Stuart. And I was like, if these are tiny roles, they're getting like decent caliber of people in just to play these little roles. So I think everyone and anyone in, like say, the like nerd culture or thing are wanting to be part of this show as well. So if the actors and people who are involved are dying to play even small parts, I'm in for the ride, if that makes sense.
It does. It makes total, complete sense. The guy, the interviewer, is in Silicon Valley as well. He appears everywhere. And in the matter of a week, we've seen him in 3 different shows. He's been in Always Sunny, he's been in Big Bang, and he's in Silicon Valley. He just pops up all over the place. I think you're totally right, though, when it's talking about world building, because obviously everything's all set out. Joel and Ellie are in the play. Everything's gone to shit. So it's all set out. But how did it get there? And then the one thing The Walking Dead failed to do was to explain. They did it in some parts, but just like, how did he get there? How did this happen? How long has this been going on for? And they're doing that, but they're doing it so gradually that it's not overload, it's not information overload. You're getting it so you can take it in, you can experience what's going on at the time, and then you'll be moved on and you'll get more information. And I love that about it, that it's not completely forcing it down your throat. Sorry, I just shouted at Alexa to stop and it startled us. And it's not just completely throwing it down your throat to get you to like overwhelm you with everything that's, because there's a lot happened, like the world's gone to shit. And how long has it been, how long did it take? And when I found out how long it took, I was like, Jesus.
That's the thing.
That's a long time.
Yeah,
the worst thing about it is when you actually start looking at the time jumps, the bit at the beginning where they're having that chat, where John Hannah's saying, yeah, it's fungus, it's possible it'll happen, was in 1968. So you've got a 35-year time jump from there to when you first meet Joel in 2003. And I was thinking to myself, in 2003, where was I? Oh, I was 23 in 2003. I was going to work. I was doing a boring thing, you know, and you think to yourself, Jesus Christ. And then they do another 20-year jump and you're just like, and now I'm here and I'm still going to work and doing the same thing I did 20
I've just thought exactly the same thing. You're like, what were you doing in 2003? Well, I was working and now it's 2023 and I'm still working.
Yeah.
They did that rather well, because obviously 1968 when that ABC interview, you know, in the opening takes place, and then obviously it goes to 2003. And Joel in this series is born in 1968. And I think it symbolizes that this is Joel's, in a daft way, destiny.
I think they said he was about 36, didn't they? They said he was 36 prior to the time jump. So this puts him at around 56 years old. And all the stuff that he's doing in so far that he's done in these three, I can't do that at 43. There is no way I'm going to be doing that at 56.
Yeah.
They want me to get him down and get back up. I'm going to need someone to help me. I get stuck getting back up these days. So.
Apparently in his contract they had, because it's renowned in the game that Joel crawls and like crouches quite a lot to hide. They could only have Pedro crouch for so long because his knees and back were given away. But
too right, that's a good contract, that.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to be crawling around all over the place.
To be fair though, this is
and I'm only 40.
He's got some pull after Mando now, so
the man can't do no wrong, really, can he?
True.
He can't. He can't do no wrong. He's been in how many big franchises now?
Yeah,
it's just
Game of Thrones, Mando, Last of Us,
Buffy.
Buffy.
Wonder Woman.
We'll not talk about that.
No, let's 1984 should never be mentioned again.
No.
Never.
No, it shouldn't. But he was the only good part in it. We'll say that. He just needs to do something with Marvel, and he's kind of like got a set, hasn't he?
He'll get there.
It won't be long.
He's definitely got his nerd credentials. That's for damn sure.
But let's start with as well. I think say the most heartbreaking part of it is the beginning, because I know with playing the game, I was like hoping they would play it out the way they had it. I was hoping we wouldn't get it like as a flashback, because there's so many different ways they could have done that, and they stayed so true to like what happened, but just embellished the perfect amounts, and they made the Sarah character so lovable. And it was I've got the name of her mum, because her mum's famous. She was in she was in a Guy Ritchie
the actual cast list.
Is she oh good god, yes, I know exactly who you're talking about, because she looks exactly like her.
I've never actually looked at the cast list. Like
I know her name's Nico Parker, the girl that played Sarah.
Okay.
Oh my god.
She's British.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah,
her mum was in Rock and Roller.
Yeah, oh god. She was in Westworld as well.
Oh my god, she looks exactly like her. It's Tandy Newton's daughter.
Tandy Newton, that's it.
I'm looking at a picture of her now, and I didn't even need to see the name. She looks the absolute image of her.
She actually is 19 years old, playing Sarah at 19. So it's kind of a bit.
Well, that's just America for you. Like,
America, it's
like,
America.
we need a teenager. Let's find a 40-year-old.
It's Grease all over again.
But yeah,
Oh,
Sorry, Paul.
no, it's fine. Go for it. Yeah.
I love the opening. I think it compared to the game,
Mhm.
it does a wonderful job of fleshing out Sarah a little bit more,
Mhm.
fleshing out the world a little bit more, because all the way through those first 20 minutes, there's always like little drips and drops. There's no TV, there's no radio, but there's always like little drips and drops of information about what's going on. The odd police car that goes past,
Yeah.
the elderly woman in the wheelchair that's contorting
That's
behind
horrible.
her.
That is
That
horrible.
is
Oh,
horrible.
no.
And then when it gets worse and worse, what I particularly found was brilliantly done was obviously the classic as Outbreak Day
Mhm.
in The Last of Us, because that's like when everything reached critical mass.
Mhm.
The desperation that was around them,
Mhm.
like they were calm and there was more desperation, and I think it was more what got me was the planes just flying and just
Yes.
flat, and it was just that sheer desperation of we need to get the fuck out of here.
Yeah.
And that anxiety, because obviously if you played the game, you know what's going to happen,
Mhm.
Yeah.
and they know that, and they build on that anxiety to that point.
Yeah, absolutely. The opening bit, it has to make you invested in Sarah, because not everyone is a game player.
Yeah.
So not everyone knows the outcome of what's going to happen. So you've got to have some investment in this person to actually give a shit
Yeah.
when it happens. The car ride alone
Mhm.
was exactly the same as the game.
Yeah.
Oh,
That's
100%,
exactly-
yeah.
I
Yeah.
felt like I had my controller in my hand.
see, because I've never played it, I actually wrote notes and put down on here that it's like it reminded me sort of not a GTA, but like whenever you're playing a game where you're inside, because I'm not that removed that I haven't watched other people play games, but I've just not played them myself. But that bit when they're driving through and it's all coming through the front windscreen, and the way they turn the corners, and if you hear the way that the wheels were spinning
Mhm.
when Tommy was turning the corner is exactly the same that you hear that they use in the games. So
Mhm.
and did you know Tommy was the Terminator in Dark Fate?
Yeah, I recognised him afterwards. Yes,
He's
yeah.
in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Yeah.
He's
Mhm.
I keep getting his name wrong. Gabriel Luna.
Yeah, that's him. Yeah, I kept
I
looking
get
at him going, I know you.
I get him mixed up with the guy from Andor, so I get his name and his name mixed up with each other. But yeah, he was Ghost Rider in Agents Marvel Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. That's it.
Mm.
But yeah,
But
I did know that.
But yeah, like say that opening, like all the little bits, but like the bits that they added as well, like the fact that Sarah went, you showed you getting the watch fixed as well, and then going next door. But I like the added little like kind of teases as well, because they were saying about going into town, and Sarah was like freaking out because she'd been to town. She's like,
Mhm.
we're not telling Joel. I was like, oh, they're going to add to that aspect, but it was kind of like just like teasing that Sarah was going to turn or anything like that, or that she might have been infected. But like I say, I just loved the whole chemistry between her and Joel. Like you could tell Joel was just like a working class father and working hard and doing everything for his family, and the desperation to like save her as well, and the little added bits of desperation that like when they're pulling out the driveway and they knock that person over, and you hear the neighbours going, for fuck's sake, Joel, what are you doing? Like you hear them in the background. It's just like, because you wouldn't know why they just ran them people over, so they would run over, and that said would start the kick off. And like say this, the way he carried Sarah through the streets, because you heard Angle when like the planes came down, and I like it that they changed it from being hit by a truck sideswipe, that something had happened from the crash from the planes. But as you said, it was just like playing the game. Like you could have picked up your controller and just done everything the same. But
exactly how I felt. I felt like I had my controller in my hand, and I'm like whooshing with it, like I'm moving with it as it's going. I was going to say something about that, about his relationship with his daughter. That was it. You are completely right. Working class dad, wanting to do the best, but she was a child who understood that, and that's what I love about children on screen, because some of them get really fucking annoying. When as an adult, you're like, they're just doing the best for you. And then the kid's going, well, it's not good enough. It's not enough. But she wasn't like that. Like he said, he missed something and she was totally understandable about the fact that, because she knew he wasn't doing it on purpose. There was a reason behind it. And that's what I loved about their relationship. The pair of them had such an understanding with each other that it was all a very mature relationship.
No,
It was nice. It was nice to see that, because I mean, I always use as a marker of annoyance, you go from 0 to 10. 10 on the annoyance scale for me is Dakota Fanning in War of the Worlds.
Right, yes.
That is annoying.
Yeah.
That, and Sarah and Joel was sort of in the 0 to 1. I love the fact when she turned around and she said to him, oh yeah, definitely, I got it from drugs, but I stole it from you. She was just blatantly honest about taking her dad's money out of his drawer. And kids aren't like that. Kids, no. I mean, some might be, but majority wouldn't own up to it, would they?
Oh no, absolutely not. Not my parents. I'd have made any excuse under the sun. But that's it. They just had such a level of honesty with each other that their relationship was it was different to what you see in a father-daughter, do you know what I mean? Like that kind of dynamic. It was but it was refreshing and it was lovely, and that's what made it even more fucking heartbreaking that what actually happened to her.
No, certainly, and that's the starting point, the jumping off point for the show as well. I think I talked about it on the podcast. Like, say, I was a bit of a dick the week before because my wife was going down to Essex to see her brother-in-law the weekend the first episode was airing, and she wasn't getting back till Tuesday, so I couldn't actually. And we always watch new shows together. So she went, oh well, we can't watch. You can't watch The Last of Us on the Monday because I'm down in Essex. So I went in the huff with her. So I actually put on YouTube the video of actually the game for the opening. I went, well, this is going to happen, just to spite her.
Awful person. Who wouldn't he? She asked you to wait one day.
But still, yeah, see, I'm a vengeful person. Remember this. But yes, but no, and I did feel a bit bad afterwards because she said I would have liked to known that before, because she actually said, oh, I really wanted Sarah to live, and that's the feeling I think all of us had when we watched it back, except from Dan, who's going, no, let the bitch die.
But it's right though, it has to move Joel.
Something needs to give him that fire, but from someone who's not played the game, like I said, my going in relatively blind, you have a loose idea of what's going to happen. It's going to end up apocalypse, blah, and it's going to be them two. But you don't know anything else as a non-gamer.
Yeah.
So I had a feeling she was going to die, but the amount of time in that first hour-ish, I mean, give or take 40, 45 minutes they spent at the pre-story before it went 20 years later, was pure... It's going to be about Sarah. This whole thing is being set up to be about Sarah, not about Joel, like the whole show, not just that one episode. So when it kept going, and she wasn't going to die, and then all of a sudden she died, you're like, well, what they do that for? Even though you knew it was coming, there had to be a motivator. But it was still
I totally get that.
I mean, the people who played the game when that first came out, I think Naughty Dog and HBO have done a brilliant job in replicating, for people who've not played the games, the same feelings as the people experienced when they first played the game. Because we were all the same. Like, we were like, oh yeah, because Sarah was classing the games. I got this from drugs for her. It was just like, yeah, she's classing. And then that just anvil that hits you at that point in the game, and I think it was the running joke for a long time. Like, The Last of Us is a game that breaks you in the first 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Oh, third episode.
Oh God,
definitely.
We'll get there.
Yeah, I know we'll get there, but
we will get there.
We're talking about the episode as well, because you thought, oh, that's the hard-hitting part of the episode.
Yeah.
Is it?
It'll end now.
No.
Yeah.
Is it fucked? The next bit that comes after that floors you again. When you see that little girl walking towards,
Jesus Christ,
like the zone, and you can see that she's carrying a patch, so you don't know what the patch is representing anything at this moment, and she claps, and then these guards have been the nicest people to her, telling lovely things, and then when you see the red light, and you go, okay, red's not normally a good thing.
Yeah.
and then then they'll take us to Joel, and he's in the pit clearing bodies, and he goes to the van, and you see like the shoes and the same color clothes, and you're like, fuck.
It was such a Schindler's List moment. Like it was the girl in the red coat all over again. But how amazing were them guards and their acting ability? Because I fucking generally believe them. Like I was like, yeah, this girl's going off to get ice cream and it's gonna be all fun and games. Like it was so believable, and it wasn't because it was that believable. It took me an a long time to register that was that girl.
Yeah.
We really sat there and went, well, hang on a minute, that's a like. Oh my God, they are that awful.
I don't think it's just that ruthless type thing, because they've got no control. Like, this is the end of world shit we're dealing with now, and as we go on to like the later episodes as well, they've got no control over this. The only thing they can do is basically wipe out anything that remotely couldn't be, and even that then has got no control over how or if anyone's going to survive. And then they go through and giving you like little tastes of what it's like living in this basically dictatorship where the world is being controlled by the government, to the point where if you even leave the city, you're getting hung, and it just shows you like the desperation, and it's like little things I absolutely adored. I thought was so clever, because if the world's going to fuck, you're literally going to become a hoarder and you want to collect everything. And then when Joel does that deal, and he gives the police the guard the tablets, he asks for the baggie back, because no one's going to be making plastic bags anymore. So plastic bag is going to be a commodity and all that type of shit as well. So I was like, I wouldn't even comprehend that, but it's such a clever thing that you wouldn't want anything that could potentially become a useful like thing. It would be like gold dust, and as we found out, like say within the fighting and like say the double crossing with the car battery, something as simple as you just going to the shop picking up a car battery, or even if you went in the street, how many cars you could lift a car battery from, and it's become such a hard thing to get, and
yeah, just to make it clear, we don't all go nicking car batteries. Just to make that, we may be northern, but we didn't get out stealing car batteries.
You need a car
Hey, I'm
battery,
southern, I don't.
if there's car batteries you need, you'll go and get one. You'll find a way. But yeah, it's like that desperation of like the simple and like little things that you kind of get, and then I think like say having the hints to the Fireflies all the way through. But again, going back to the cast, and I can't remember her name, because I know she was in Fringe as well. Like
Anatole.
Yeah.
Anatole, yeah.
Yeah, she's also in Mindhunter as well. That's where I've seen her from. Brilliant actress.
Absolutely amazing. And also, like I say, the actor who plays Robert as well. Like say you see him in loads of things. Like he was in the latest Christmas one, Deadly Night, with he was like one of the Goodman. But
it's also him from Freddy vs. Jason.
Yes, the drug kid. Not the drug kid, the kid that wanted to stop Freddy or something like that, had the mental breakdown.
The brother of he was in the psych ward.
Yes.
Him.
But like, as I said before, with the cast and like say minor roles, you're getting people that you recognise, and like it's just cleverly done. And as you said, you would barter or you would argue that case. It's like, fuck, I don't want to die over a car battery. It's like, we'll forget about it, but then they don't forget about it, and like say they're pissed off. And it's just so, like as you said, world building earlier, it's just perfectly pitched, and you fall into it, and again, even if you haven't been in this world before, you kind of think they're making common sense moves, and that's what doesn't happen in TV shows or movies anyway. Because how many times do you scream at a TV show, "What the fuck are you doing? You're doing something stupid." I'd be saying the same
every
thing.
time.
Yeah. I would have, like say if I was in her situation, like tied up, two people around us saying these things, I would have gone, shit, yeah. Let's just forget about it. I don't want to get any shit, if that makes sense.
Yeah. I'm not dying for this. Like, come on, there's got to be a better way for us to go out than over a car battery.
But yes.
But I probably would die. I wouldn't make it to that point, so I wouldn't know.
And I think like Goodwill made the point earlier, like say HBO, like this show is a huge risk. Let's be honest, because the amount of money that's getting pumped into it, and like having to make this movie as well, because everything it looks fantastic. This is going to be a big budget affair. So, like, if this show doesn't work, like, again, I know HBO's got a lot like backing, but this could be like a financial loss on the mega scale if
Yeah.
it didn't get this right.
I think
don't
they've been.
HBO. Oh, sorry, Goodwill.
Sorry, I think they've been very clever in the way that they've reimagined the world, because obviously the video game Outbreak was 2013 when the game came out. So it was like, 20 years later, 2033, blah, blah, blah. They've been very, very clever. And this goes to what Paul's saying, like how much of a risk they've taken to keep costs down. Let's say the Outbreak is in 2003. So now it's 20 years later in 2023. What's the easiest thing you can get to decorate a post-apocalyptic world from 20 years ago? Well, we've got a fucking scrapyard full of cars from 20, 30 years ago. We've got these old PCs from 20, 30 years ago. We've got cassettes. We've got CD players. All this cheap shit that HBO could go around and just buy and then just use. And they are authentic props. Like there's scenes where there's like, do you remember like the Volkswagen Beetles, the big yellow Beetles from the early 2000s? They've got them. They've got these. I think it's just really clever that they shifted when the outbreak happened, so they could buy loads and loads of genuine, real scrap technology and just fill the world with literally stuff that has just rotted for the last 20 years. Do you know what I mean? They haven't had to enhance it. They haven't had to like visually make it look decayed. They could just go to any land heap or any scrapyard, pick it up. And I think that, for me, I noticed that in the first episode and I was like, yeah, that's why they've done it. And it was really, really cleverly done. Like magazines.
Like, my God, you are really looking, aren't you?
No, but if you look at, there's a scene in the first episode.
Apparently I'm not, Goodwill, because I didn't notice half the stuff you've mentioned.
But there's a scene in the first episode where, like, Ellie needs to go to the toilet, so she just throws a magazine, and I'm like, yeah, if that was 2013, how many magazines would you have seen around in 2013?
Yeah.
Nowhere near as much as there was in 2003, when, like, the internet was just in its infancy.
Yeah.
But I also like the fact that,
find a porn mag in a bush.
Yeah, but I also like the fact that, like, 2003, the internet was still in its infancy as well. So information wouldn't have been widely spread about what was going on in the world.
Yeah.
And there is that innocence with that. But I loved it from that aspect, because everything that you see that's decayed, it's probably just sat in a scrapyard for real over the last 20 years, decaying in real life.
Yeah.
And I think that it adds to that. It just makes it more genuine for me.
No,
that it's like, oh God, if this did happen.
Yeah.
And everyone would be wearing frosted tips as well, by the way, if it was 2003. So I think I've got a timely hairdo.
You will fit in.
I will fit in, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
I was just gonna say HBO, from my recollection and what I can think of, they've never done a bad first series. I'm not saying their series have gone on to be great, because let's remember Game of Thrones is part of HBO, but their first series have always been huge, massive, and I think they knew when they took this on that it had to reach that level of perfection of what they've had previously. That's all I was going to say earlier, and it would have bugged us if I didn't.
I think that when you've got TV shows that are as well as established, and I don't want to compare it to The Walking Dead, because it is nothing like that.
No.
But I can see it. But you look at the first, say, 3 or 4 seasons of The Walking Dead and the religion it spawned. It to this day it still holds some of those hardcore religious believers in it
massively.
And I mean, I've been luckily enough to go to Sonoy, where they film where Woodbury was, and where they do the main filming and things like that. And it is the smallest village in the universe. It's one street, but the people dedicate all their shops to the show. There's people that cosplay still at conventions that I do as Negan, as all these characters, and it's like I can't see The Last of Us spawning more than 3 seasons, because they've only done 2 games. So
hopefully,
you know,
that's what I'm hoping for. I don't want to.
Yeah,
say
I
that's
want
what
it
Yeah, I don't
to-
want it.
Yeah.
it
It
needs
doesn't need to
to
dwell on.
no. So
Mm.
short, sharp, and concise. 3 seasons. Get done what you needed to get done, and show some fantastic storylines. Don't go on 11 seasons
Mhm.
and just bore the shit out of everybody. I was a hardcore Walking Dead fan. I did the conventions. I was lucky enough to meet Andrew Lincoln and a lot of the cast, and it was, to a degree, it was like, I must watch this religiously every week because someone will spoil it for me if I don't get on there and I don't watch it. And I want that for this show.
Yeah.
But not 11 seasons of it. I want
No.
3 seasons of really well thought out, good storylines that, yes, they're going to kick you in the nuts every time you watch an episode. There's going to be an element of,
Mhm.
you didn't see this coming,
Yeah.
did you?
No.
Bang.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that's where the difference lies. But I can see that this is going to spawn a whole load of cosplayers coming out of
I
the
am-
woodwork.
Yeah, my con season starts this Sunday.
Right.
And I am expecting to still see a lot of Stranger Things because
Yeah.
I was at Liverpool in November, and
Yeah.
I want to dare say half of that convention was cosplay, was
Yeah.
Stranger Things. I think that'll start to dwindle down this year a little bit, and I'm really hoping to see some Ellies and some Joels walking about, or even some person being really daring and going for a clicker.
I
Clipper
think
would be interesting.
Clicker.
I
Sounds
think
like it might be.
in terms of cosplay, there's always been that element of Last of Us cosplay, more in the old E3 conferences and game. What was the German one? I can never remember the German one.
Oh, I
but
can't remember the
there-
German one, but E3 is back
Gamescom.
this year, baby.
Yeah.
Yeah, Gamescom.
So there was always that element of Last of Us cosplay, and there was some terrific clickers. There was bloaters. There was terrific. But I think,
forgot about them.
Yeah.
I completely forgot about them.
but I think Dan hit the nail on the head. This year, you will see a lot more. There'll be a lot more flannel shirts. That's for sure. But
Oh,
I genuinely believe Neil Druckmann, who was obviously the creator of the games at Naughty Dog and is the EP of this, I genuinely believe he will stick to a 3 and done. And I think that's 3 as in this season is the first game. The next 2 will be part 2. And I
yeah.
think that'll be it, because he's expressed that in terms of part 3, game wise, it's their decision whether they want to do it or not. He said some quite strong things about Uncharted and The Last of Us this week, and I think a lot of people are saying that if we do get a 3rd game, that will be the last, and then they'll
that was
that'll
actually
be
going to
it.
be one of my questions tonight. Was, do we think we'll get a 3rd game? Now, I've not played the second one. However, I do know what happens. I do know what
I
happens
know.
now.
Yeah.
Thank you, internet.
There's been rumors kicking about for years. But the only thing is, I know I'm all for keeping this short and sweet, but if they build enough of a world, that this would be the perfect platform. Again, I hate using this phrase, but spin-offs would be welcome. Just simply because of the 3rd episode that we got. And again, I know I'm not missing out the second one yet. Because I never thought I'd be interested in other people's stories in this game, because I say when I played the game, I was all for Joel and Elle. But
yeah, because your main focus is on them, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yes, but that changed everything when we watched the 3rd episode. When I watched the 3rd episode, but because the first episode, as I said, does stay very close to the game. The beats, when they meet, Elle with calling her Veronica for the first time, that throws a little bit. But when they're doing the test and they make it obvious, what's happening, and again, I like the whole I thought Roger was going to play a bigger part in the first few episodes, but glad they killed him off anyway, because the character in the game annoyed us to no end.
Yeah.
But the whole making it about not that Joel needs to get Tommy, because to be fair, in the game you don't know Tommy's still alive till halfway through the game anyway. So it's nice.
Spoilers.
If you haven't played the game in 10 years, I'm sorry. But
That is true.
But making it the element that's Joel still clinging on to family, and that he's still got that kind of love and that life with him. So that's, like, say, an exciting side. And I love that they're not rushing the whole relationship with Joel and Elle. It's kind of like
Yeah.
a slow build, and she's whittling her way down on him. Because she's not Sarah. That's the thing. She's like completely the opposite of what Sarah is. Like the two characters from what we've seen so far. But I say with the person who Joel is and the way he grows, I'm looking forward to seeing that relationship grow and how that develops. But as you said, regarding sequels or series, this show, if to do a Watchmen and just do a 2 season or 3 season, I'll be happy. But if they want to expand on it, don't just expand the characters, expand the world. Tell me more stories about, like, other people, how they have dealt with. Go The Last of Us in a different country. Tell them how they're dealing with, like, the outbreaks and stuff.
Do like a World War Z kind of thing.
Well, do it
Because
better.
that's what World War Z did. I know, no, not the film. I'm talking about the book. Like, the book told different aspects of the story, didn't it? It was all one catastrophe that happened, but it was all different stories of it. Would we be mad if we got the first season and it was very much of the game, and the second season didn't actually go off the game and did something completely different?
I wouldn't be mad at all, because I've played the second game up until a certain point and I turned it off. I'm never switching that fucker back on again after what they did.
Okay.
It's very divisive, the second game.
Yeah.
I mean, they are saying that they've cast already certain characters from the game, and there's a lot of memes going around, where it's like, when The Last of Us 2 was announced, and then, like, the fans of the second game, when The Last of Us 2 was announced, and everyone's like crying and stuff like that, and it's just like, season 2 will be difficult.
Yeah.
But I won't talk about.
Well, we'll not go into that yet, because we're still
because we're
this
just we're just doing the first 3.
as we normally do. We're going off in tangents. So
because of how much of an impact the third one was, I'm not gonna lie, my brain is a little bit foggy on the second episode, so you might need to jog my memory.
I have notes.
Excellent.
Yes.
But, like, to sum up the first one, I have a few questions, skipping back a little bit. Why did the old lady that was turning into, I presume she was like an early version of a clicker, she was just transforming. Why did she look like John Kramer, like Tobin Bell from Saw? You go back and watch it. She looks exactly like Tobin Bell.
Maybe it was a homage. Maybe it was a nod.
Maybe. And then, like, when you start going through, my notes are really bizarre. I've got Joel Yeats' kids on bonfires.
Yes.
And then I've got, like, Ellie's an asshole.
Yeah.
Why is he having smints and whiskey? That's gross. Everyone smells. And then I've got another bit where it puts mushroom person on wall looks like a sneeze. So these are my notes. So they're not very helpful, but I remember what I was talking about at the time.
Well, the wall thing.
That is a good point about the mushroom person on the wall, because I think that, again, I know it feels like I'm being an arsehole here, but I did enjoy The Walking Dead for the first season, I'll be honest. But the first episode gave you everything that you wanted. It showed you zombies, it showed you zombies attacks. In the first episode, all we've seen is the outbreak of someone that's reminisce on the wall. We've not been shown anything too much, so it's kind of like little, like, oh, we're going to show you a little bit, so it's not thrown to, and it's keeping you like attention. Not to like the second episode that we see, but even seeing that person who's, like, when they said, oh, they've gone, they're not there anymore. It's like, so where the fungus have just eaten the person out and he's just turned into a wall. That was just well done and so horrific at the same time. I know you can't do smelly telly. That must have stunk. Like, say, you just think you can see the smell waves coming out of it.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I said, that aspect.
I have a thing of looking at things and thinking what they would smell like, what it would be like. And one of my pet hates on shows like this, where it's dystopian, end of the world, the teeth are still friggin' white.
His teeth are still bright white.
Honestly, it grinds my gears. There's one reference in The Walking Dead where Michonne wants baking soda. so she can whiten her teeth.
Mhm.
And that's like season 8 or something. So it's like ridiculously down the line. And I'm like, your teeth are already white, pet. They're really, really white. And they shouldn't be, because you shouldn't have any toothpaste. Like, that's the one thing that bugs me about dystopian worlds is their teeth. But I do get the whole smell thing.
That has bugged me, honestly, Sammy. That has bugged me for the last 20 years, right? And there was a Battlestar Galactica hammered it because it was like 4 years after an event, and they were auctioning, they were having a competition for the world's last tube of toothpaste, and like that was their incentive. They were like, a lot of you need this.
Sparkling.
Yeah, a lot of you need this because your breath fucking stinks.
Yeah.
And it was like, yeah, and the teeth are still bright white after 20
stuff
years.
like that bugs me.
Moving
But
away from
it
teeth
also-
now, so. But yeah, like I say, the second episode is more like say the relationship building between Joel and Tess. Like say where they find out that Elle's infected, and well, not infected, that she's immune to it and stuff like that. So they find it's like the weight of that news on their shoulders. Like, how do you react that you potentially have the world's fate on your shoulders, and how do you deal with that? And then it's building, like say again, more the world building, like showing the world outside of like say these detention centers, which would pretty much look like. But
it's just come flooding back to us.
Yeah.
If the opening of the episode is
Yeah.
the scientists who's brought in in, where are we? Where does it?
In Indonesia.
Indonesia, that's it. Where she gets brought in, and
I'm glad I didn't make
that
a back
scene,
joke. That's all I'm saying.
that I mean, I'll tell you mine off when we're finished. When that scene at the just before it ends her segment, and she says, "Well, what do you want to do?" And she was like, "I just want to spend." When she told them to bomb the place, and she went, "I just want to spend the time with my family," I was in bits. It was the so matter of fact, like, this is how serious it is. I'm telling you, you need to bomb the place, and I'm more than happy to be in that with them. Like, that's how deadly serious this problem is. And I was shaking, like crying my eyes out, thinking, how the fuck do you make that decision?
Yeah.
And what you make it because you're smart, and it's the only optional thing that you can do. Whether or not that happened,
Well, it did. It showed you because, like, say, when they were Joel
Did it?
and Tex.
that must have been in absolute hysterics.
To slow it down, didn't they? They were bombing. They were bombing parts of Boston to slow the.
Right, got
down.
you. Yes.
Because that
They,
whole thing,
but-
and then, like, say, buildings, like, say, because even if it was an old building, wouldn't just fall over.
No,
I had to look up what she was actually a professor of, because they kept saying she was a professor of myology, and I was like, myology? What the hell is myology? And I had to Google it because, computer in your hand, and it's a muscle specialist. I can't speak anymore. A muscle specialist.
All right.
And they're people that talk about how the muscle groups work, how they can carry the body. So when she cut the ankle where the bite mark was, and she saw what I'm going to call them the bean sprouts, because that's what they look like, under the skin, that's when she freaked out and she got out.
Yeah.
She obviously knew something that we didn't know, but I don't know if you noticed, and this is deviating a little bit from that, they said that the woman worked in a flour and grain factory.
Yeah.
Now, I've seen some people who are trying to Easter egg hunt or trying to conspiracy theory it already, that I think are like me, that haven't played the game, so they don't necessarily know the story. But if you look at the first episode quickly, Sarah was offered, she was trying to make pancakes in the morning. There was no flour. She was, Joel forgot the birthday cake, which had flour in it. And she was offered some cookies from the next door neighbor, and she didn't take any of them.
Because they didn't have chocolate chips. Yeah.
And they all had flour and grain in them. And that's where they're suspecting, if I'm right, that the whole thing.
Yeah, because that's what Joel said. It was like, this is why it only took so many days, because it was in the flour, which was then in the cereals, and in the bread, and people were buying it was in there on a Thursday, buying on a Friday, and gone by the Saturday. Like
Yeah.
that, like that's how we broke it down, as in how quick this was, and that is absolutely effing terrifying.
But I like how. Go on,
Sorry,
sorry.
go on. She
No,
was the professor was sorry. Sorry, Dad, go on.
No. I was just going to say that's how like they can only trace it as far back as 14 people prior to her being bitten.
Mm-hmm.
So you will never get the actual origin.
No.
You will just, I don't feel like they're going to take it any further than that. They're just saying they have this one woman who was bitten. There's possibly 14 people missing prior to her, whether they're people she's infected or people that infected her. They don't know. And those 14 people were completely responsible, from what I can see, for the entire breakdown of the world as they knew it.
No,
so
definitely.
Yeah.
And as the, like say, the scientist at the first episode, so it's not about like say like consuming or making a mistake. It's just like evolution, that these fungi, like say the world got hotter, so it could adapt and live in warmer, like say terrain and stuff like that. So evolution, bitch.
Yeah, it's terrifying, the aspect of how, from what Joel explained, how that happened. Like, if my memory was great and I could keep that locked in there, I would never eat again.
Yeah.
I really wouldn't. It's but thank God for me, my memory's shocking, and I totally forgot about that until someone brought it up. But it's such a terrifying aspect that it's because it's that everyone has it.
But that was like the third episode where he
Yeah,
tells
he
us the story
explained- he explained
he was
that,
given that story, because that's when like say his and Elle's relationship was starting to like kind of warm up and stuff. Because what I found was quite interesting, because Joel's quite like a strong character. Like the way he spoke to that guy that was trying to recruit him to the Fireflies in the first episode, there's just like fuck off, I'll break your jaw and type thing. The way he reacts to basically anyone that's like basically turned or infected is completely different to what I was expecting. Because when he found out Ellie was basically infected, he like almost had the gun on her, and it took Tess to stop him. When he found out Tess had been infected and she went to touch him, he backtracked. Like you can see physically he's terrified of this infection. So he must have, like, say, a close, like, say, I'll be interested to see, because we've got 20 years of Joel that we don't know what's happened to him. So I would love to see, like, what he's seen, what he's done in that since he lost Sarah. I know we're probably going to get that, like, say, going forward, like, saying because the flashbacks seem to be, like I say, quite a prevalent part of this. But the whole, like, say, showing you, like, what the world had become, this episode 2 played out perfectly, and it was, like I loved episode 1. I thought episode 1 was one of the strongest first episodes I've seen. The follow up is normally like say a letdown, like it always like the come down. This one,
it's always a bit.
This one continued and made it stronger, because it introduced us to the clickers, and seeing the clicker attack and how they move, and like say like almost give us a reminder of Jurassic Park in a way. Like when you first get into raptors, like say when the raptors are moving. That's what the clickers were moving around in the dark. It felt like I was getting attacked by a dinosaur.
I said exactly the same thing to Ant. I was like, "This is a raptor attack." They are, and the fact that you get to know the lore of them as well, because I totally forgot from in the game they can't detect you if you don't make a noise.
Yeah.
Totally forgot that aspect until it was explained again. See, this is how bad my memory is. So I love the fact that part was explained, so the audience is all in on the fact that they can't. So it's like a mixture between a T-Rex and a raptor, but I felt raptor attack the minute that they started coming on screen.
In my head, it was the Predator clicking noise from Predator.
Yeah.
You know, and you know that Peter Cullen, the voice of Optimus Prime and Eeyore, was the guy who invented that noise from a crab for the Predator.
No, I did not know.
So
I did not know that. Nerd knowledge right here.
There you go.
But say that I am looking at the Optimus Prime behind you, and I am very jealous.
Yeah, that one.
You do have one yourself.
No, but that's the toy. That's the original.
Right.
Behind there's the one that the automatic one that builds itself and takes itself down and drives away and
what?
Yeah, honestly, We've got some shit.
But
But
I love that. We've got some shit.
we've got some shit. We've got a lot of shit. There's a life-size Skeletor and Havoc stuff up there. But
Goodwill got excited there.
but yeah, I mean, I when I heard that clicky, now you say about the Raptors, it automatically makes sense. But for me, I just heard that, you know, when the Predator was hiding in the trees in the very first one, and
Yeah.
they'd hear that foreboding clicky noise, but no one could see. You
Yeah.
couldn't see it.
Mhm.
And then all of a sudden, bam, the assault happens. It seemed very similar to that kind of style that you heard the clicking, you saw nothing, and then they came pelting in full force.
Mhm.
And it was like, oh, okay, that's what's happening now. You know, you went from really quiet and silent to full on
Yeah.
noise. And then it was like, but you shouldn't say a word. So you're sitting there. I'm finding myself going like this.
Like, yes, I'm
you know-
exactly the same. I feel like I get so immersed in it that I feel like I'm standing in the bloody room with them half the time. But I generally, that clicking noise reminds me of Beatrice when she sees a bird
Yeah.
outside. She goes, and she starts to click a jaw. She's so loud as well, so that just totally reminds us of me cat. I was like, where is she? Where's the birds?
So I know Goodwill's been very well behaved, bless him. What did you think of like the second episode there, Mr. Goodwill?
Brilliant. I just thought it, like, from the cold open with the professor, how calm she was, where she was like, you know, listen to me, I have studied this all my life. There is no cure, there is no this. You know, what can we do? Bomb. Bomb everyone.
It sends chills.
Yeah, bomb the whole area with everyone in it. And she said it so calmly because she knew that was literally the only solution. And then obviously the continuation, and also the world building of the infected. Like, you know, when they climb to the top of the hotel and you see them all writhing with the sunlight as the sun shifts, and, you know, they all move in tandem, and they're like, yes, because the mycelial network sinks them all into a hive mind, which comes into play obviously later on towards the end. And what I love, and this is obviously what's different from the game, they've done away with the spores. And it's now just it's tendrils. And that, when I saw that in the first episode, you know, when they're sucking on the neck, I was like, oh bloody vamp. And it was like, you saw the tendrils in the mouth snapping, and like, and that in this game, like, when the tendrils go down the fingers, and like it just sinks everyone to run.
Oh, it went under the fingernail.
It's so, like, the spores in the game are terrifying. This is like on another level, and it's like one of the best changes that they've made, because, you know, specifically at the end as well, when you see it up close and you're like, oh my god. But you know, this again was tense, and you can see Ellie trying to probe little bits of information from Joel, you know.
Yeah, she's really trying to dig in there, isn't she?
Yeah, and he's still called her. He's still like locking her out and everything like that. But for me, it wasn't. It's probably going to be controversial. It wasn't as good as the first episode, but I don't think a second episode is. I think if this was a 2-hour. If this was a 2-hour pilot, absolutely
you wouldn't have split it.
You wouldn't have split it, no. The ending was superb. Again, another shift from the game, but that scene at the end creeped me out so much.
Yeah.
Did you see how many people were complaining about that? There was a whole thing about the kiss.
Yeah.
There were so many people that complained about it because they said it was so disgusting that it made them feel so uncomfortable. They didn't like it. And it's like, well, that was the purpose of it. I'm glad you've arrived. Here we are. You know, it was like...
If it made you comfortable, then you maybe have a different fetish that you need to look into.
Yeah, there's something clearly wrong with you if you find that okay. Do you know what I mean? Look at her.
It didn't creep me out. I knew the purpose of what she was doing. So I saw it from the purpose that it was a distraction. That's what she was there to do. She made herself the distraction. She made herself the patsy. She was the one that was going to take the responsibility. But I can't believe how shit her Zippo is. Why do these people never have good lighters?
No, it's so infuriating.
It's Americans for you.
I own a Zippo and I know how fucking frustrating
Yeah.
those things can be.
And only ever used to use Zippos, and they're just the most annoying lighters in the world.
Yeah.
Did anyone?
But again,
when
just to go back before we go forward, you made a good point though. But do you not think in the future that there would only be Zippos around? Because them are the only sturdy ones that were, like I said, the metal base. They're not plastic.
Oh yeah.
And so you can use any type of like oil or like say lighter fluid in there. Where like say
Yeah.
a plastic lighter, they would have probably like say all been blown up by the kids. Or like say with
You just won't be able to get any bloody flints for them. That's the problem. That's why she's sat there like that,
Yeah,
because the
doing that
flint's
thing,
down to the
that's it.
nut. But she's like, come on! And I mean, the only criticism I had with that was she's doing this and she's doing this.
She's not
There's a
really paying
sea of
attention though.
grenades. Yes,
Yeah, but
there's
she
a
had,
sea of-
had a grenade.
Did anyone, when Ellie went into the water, like think to themselves, are they going to put her on a raft? Is he going to have to
She
drag
did
her
say
on
she
the
can't
raft?
swim.
Because
Did say she can't
Anne
swim.
said that, and the minute they went in the water, he was they're never going to put her on a raft and carry her. And I was like, wow. Because in the game, Ellie can't swim, and every time there's water, she jumps on a raft, and Joel has to pull her. And
Lazy bitch.
I'm just like, you're not going to go down this route.
But apparently in the later
absolutely-
episodes, there's the bunk up thing. So Joel and Ellie like, do the whole
Oh, really?
like bunk up like move that they kept on doing during the game. But yeah, it's like,
I
I-
obviously. Oh, sorry, Paul.
no, I loved the ending to like this episode. As Goodwill said, I thought it had the weight because it's so far. I know we've had 3 episodes. It gives us characters that you're getting engrossed with, and it just takes them away without even
Yeah.
a second thought. Because to be fair, if you think about the game and like see how it works, you could have probably got a half a season to the point where they're getting out the city with Elle. So you could have got more with Tess rather than just the second episode. I know they're only doing 9 episodes per like this season. They probably might do more for next, but from the clips and everything that's coming back, it does look like we're going to get the full game in these 9 episodes. So there is a lot of stuff that we're going to get and a lot of characters we're going to meet. But just how they did, like they keep taking these characters away as well. They do it in a way that you're kind of not ready for. It's almost like red wedding you're at. It's like but without the because you know they're going to go, but it's like you're not ready for them to go yet because you're starting to get more engrossed and you want more from them.
Yeah, because of my shit memory, I generally forgot how Tess died.
Right.
So, but I knew it was coming. Every time I saw a building that looked similar to the one that she was in when it happened in the game, I'm like going, right, it's now, isn't it? It's going to be now. Like it's, and then Ant was like, no, you've got some time. I just thought it was incredibly sad that the episode that Tess died on, the actress who did our voice died the same week, and I thought that was so sad. There was another word I used to Antha. I was like, it's really, it's almost meta. That actually happened, but I loved her to the point where I didn't want her to go. I thought she was such a voice of reason. She was very understanding in a world where she could be incredibly understanding about the whole thing. She was an excellent actress.
Certainly.
Yeah.
And then
They didn't really explain, did they, to a degree of how long Tess and Joel had been together at that point, though. I mean, he could have been with her 20 years. He could have met her just as it had all started. He could have met her a year ago. They don't lay it out in this show.
I think
it's guesswork.
I think we might get that.
I think we'll get a flashback.
Because like say with the flashback things, and leaning on to like say the next episode, which.
There was a flashback, in that one,
Because
I think we'll get more of their relationship in flashbacks.
Yeah,
right.
But the whole like say move like as I say when that one ended and you thought, oh, how are they going to follow that episode up? Fucked it.
Do you know what? It's the first time in a long time I've seen the internet mourn.
Yeah.
Like really mourn. Like everyone was broken. Even in our group chat, everyone had to say was I'm broken and knew exactly what they were talking about. I have never had a TV show smack me in the face as hard as this one.
But this is
as
the
hard
episode,
as this episode.
This was the episode that where like say when we went online it had Dan's man in. This is the Dan got excited for this one. This was the reason you watched the show, wasn't it?
Nick Offerman. I mean, the guy and his wife, Megan Mullally.
I love them two together.
Not a lot of some people know, but he married Karen from Will and Grace. They are married. They are this you know, unstoppable force, but they are so funny when you see them interviewed together. They look genuinely happy. He, in his spare time, makes boats. He's a woodworker. That's what he does in his spare time. So he's
the real life version of Ron Swanson.
Yeah.
And she is Tammy Swanson. I love the fact that they both play husband and wife on that show. But I love that when you first see him eat, it's steak.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, that's Nick Offerman.
Yeah. Can I have some of your bacon, your vegan bacon? Can I have some more of your vegan bacon? Yeah, it's Nick will he is my I don't know, when I see him, he makes me go all happy, and I don't feel emotions often. So when I knew he was cast, I was like, this is interesting, because you don't really see him in anything anymore, you know.
No.
So when for the majority, people will know him as Ron, and then bang, now he's Bill to a whole new generation. So everybody in the early I think it was mid 2000s, was it Parks and Rec, early 2010?
Yeah, it was like The Office was, because it was meant to be a spin-off of The Office.
Yeah.
And it never went that way. The guy who wrote The Office wrote Parks and Rec, and it was I'm sure it was, but he was in Pam and Tommy last year.
Oh yeah, he was, wasn't he? He was the guy that he ran off with. Yeah.
But to be honest, you're right though. He's not like, that's the after Parks and Rec, I genuinely couldn't tell you, apart from We Are the Millers, what else.
He was in an episode of Brooklyn Nine-Nine as well. He's done loads of TV stuff or little thing, but he's not been big roles. But I think when we got told, like as he said, we got told who the character was playing, it was going to be interesting, because in the game, Bill's just a twat. He's just an absolute,
he's a dick.
And they went so far off the beaten track with his character in this part, but I am so happy that they gave us what we did as well, because like I said, just before, like I said, talking about like the aspects, like how they built up to it as well, like you see Joel and Ellie starting to bond a bit, and I love the whole line where Ellie got a bit tough with Joel and said, look, I'm not going to say I'm sorry for Tess, because you chose a reason to do this, and like say, I didn't make you type thing. You knew the risks type thing, and I liked how honest she was with him, and again, world building. But we got something that you didn't get from Elle in the games. There's a darkness to this one, the way she handles, like say the infected, that guy who she like sneaks off with to find things, and she sees him like. Then she kind of studies him for a bit. So again, I don't know if that's going to implement, or there's going to be certain darkness changes, which again did get us a little bit excited, and how she just like watched him for a bit before sticking the knife in, because she was asking Joel questions before about, have you killed anyone, or is it hard, how does it feel? So because without giving spoilers as well, because like say, I can't say it actually without giving spoilers, so I'll have to be careful there. Is she made up differently to normal people? So that's the aspect.
This was something that I noticed when Joel was beating the crap out of the security guard in the end of the first one, when they're trying to sneak out of the city. That was the bit that I noticed in her, that she wasn't quite right, because if you're looking at Joel smashing the bejesus out of this man back to next year, you know, he's giving him everything he's got. And you watch Ellie, you don't watch Joel. I was watching Ellie behind, and she just had this really odd way of moving. If you go back and watch it, you'll see what I mean. It's almost like a fascination twinned with like a predatory, like, I want to jump in, this is fascinating me. You know, almost like she looked like she was salivating. I know she wasn't, but you know, like she was that into it, that she was engrossed. You could see like she was doing these weird, like creepy, like crickety movements, and I was like, there's something else there. There's something else there.
I totally get that. I get that. And that scene where she goes up to him, it's almost morbid enthusiastic that she's in front of this thing. She can take that life whenever she's ready to. Yeah, but she can take that life whenever she's ready to, but she's going to, for that few minutes that she's got, she's going to study it and see what she can and can't get away with. But one thing that really bugs me in, again, dystopian worlds is when people don't tell the other person where they're at.
But the thing is, though, the trust isn't there yet. That's the thing.
No, I know, and that's
So
what
that- so
Ant had
that's
to keep
the-
reminding us.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
that's
and
the
kept
build-up.
reminding us of that factor. But I was like, can she not just say, "I'm down here"?
Yeah, but
Because then he doesn't know.
but that's the thing. She didn't know if she was going to find somewhere or
I know.
escape as well. But
I had that pointed out. It was
yeah, but the whole aspect, like I said, like the thing. But again, good writing and good common sense used. Joel's got a fuck off gun that's heavy to carry around, not much ammo, so he stores it.
yeah,
He's not carrying it around. It's like logic, using logic, and she's like, "Why are you not in?" She goes, "Well, I'm not going to find more bullets for this type of gun anywhere." So it's kind of like, oh, yeah, that makes sense. Why would you carry around this hunk of metal that's going to waste it? Because food's going to be scarce, water's going to be scarce, drinkable water, of course. So you're going to
Yeah.
get yourself tired and worn out. It's just using good logic and common sense. I was like, that's just things you wouldn't even think about in a
Yeah.
like, in that type of scenario. But Joel's been around now, as you said, 20 years, and going back, and then you see the plane and the fascination. You realize, fuck, Elle hasn't been alive since planes has been in the air.
that's
14.
exactly what I said. I was like, hang on a minute. She doesn't know what an aeroplane. Like, she's never been on an aeroplane. She's only ever seen it in a picture book.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Yeah.
what else has she not seen?
Yeah.
And then when he said later on in the episode, "Is this the first time you've been in a car?"
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the way that she acted, like looking around the car, I was like, and she says, "Put your seatbelt on," and she just looked at him like, "Eh, what?"
Mm.
I couldn't. Like, it was mind blowing to us that she hadn't even seen an aeroplane.
Yeah, because and this is, I think, at the start there, you think it's going to be a light and fluffy like interactions, and then moving on to Bill, sorry. But when they turn that corner and like you see the protective side of Joel. He doesn't want Ellie to see what's around the corner because he knows what's there, like the massacre that took place, and the way they used that as the flashback was just amazingly pitch perfect. So you didn't really notice what was happening. So it was telling you a different story that you didn't think
Yeah.
you needed. And boy, did you need this story. And again,
Yeah.
I know Grant did the post on the Facebook page, which is quite prevalent, because there was people complaining on the internet saying this was a filler episode. I totally disagree that this is filler, because I know it's giving different characters a different side pass, but it's showing you what the world was like and how it ended and what people like reacted to and how the mistrust was there. And for a survivalist, like say you said, Bill, like how he set that place up and how he lived.
Yeah.
Fuck me, he had the right idea.
Anthony only can aspire to be as good as Bill when it comes to survivaling, because all Anthony wants to do is to become a survivalist. But he was like, "It'd be really expensive, wouldn't it?" I was like, "That's the whole fucking point. Like, you've got to hoard all this shit." When you see the massacre, obviously aged, and then you go into the flashback and you see the woman and child. First thing I said was, "This, I know your fate."
Yeah.
But that's not what. And I generally thought that's where we're focusing, and then obviously you see Bill, and I'm like, okay, that's not where I thought we were going here, but I'm in. I'm strapped in. Let's go.
Oh, how did you like? What did you think of the like? Because I know they've came out today and said there's actually a director's cut where that episode is over 2 hours long.
I'd watch it in a heartbeat.
Yeah, I think everybody would. Everybody would.
In a heartbeat. I want to be in their lives as long as I possibly can be.
But then in saying that, I think it could be a bit of a danger, because what they've done is created 50 minutes that has affected every person in one way or another that's ever seen that episode. Now, I watch a lot of TV and a lot of movies, and I can't remember the last time I watched something and sat there like,
Yeah. I generally can't.
And I feel like maybe releasing a 2-hour director's cut may tarnish it, may sully it a little bit, because that was a thing of beauty, and I don't think they're going to top that, but I don't think they want to. I think that for them was we're taking this so far away from the story that you'll remember it, but it's not integral in Joel and Ellie's life. You'll see them pass through it, but they're not part of that.
Yeah.
So by doing a 2 hour of that, I do feel like it might ruin the beauty of what we just saw.
And I totally get what you mean.
And I love that like word beauty as well, because
Beautiful.
a lot of people, like as you said, representation is such an important thing in certain pop culture or in certain like in aspects as well. Like little, I know we're getting little things in Marvel and stuff now, but having it in such a big show, because they could have done that scene or that episode completely differently. They could have had like a man or a woman, or like say, but the way they did it, and I've not seen like say a gay relationship portrayed in a way where it was romantic, it was sweet, it was loving, it wasn't seedy or anything. I'm not saying like, but like say what shows we get like Queer as Folk or like say It's a Sin, where not dirty in it, but like showing it what life is like. Just making it real.
Showing a love story between two people. That's what we got. My sister texted us after she watched the episode and went, "I was in this for her words, zombies. I did not expect a love story. What the fuck is going on?"
Well, I didn't know Bill and Frank's story. I only knew the setup from the two tiny little mentions they got in the two previous episodes. Like the first one, Ellie asks Joel, "Who's Bill and Frank?" when she's talking about the radio settings. And then in the second, Tess says to him, "You get her to Bill and Frank, they will know what to do." That's the only time you hear them mentioned on the two occasions prior to the third episode. So it doesn't sit right when I thought for about the first 20 to 30 minutes of that episode, Frank's going to screw Bill over. He's gonna nick something of his. He's gonna let people in because everybody's an absolute wanker, especially in an apocalypse. He's gonna let all his mates in the back, and it's gonna be Bill against all of them. Because that's where my mind went with this. Because I did not expect it to go into man meets man, and they have this beautiful aging relationship that everybody wants. You know, regardless of who you are, to grow old with someone is ultimately what the majority of people would love. And to watch it done in a way which was so respectful to any sex relationship, it was just like, it was, I can't explain it. I can't go back and watch that episode. I saw it the once on Monday, and I'm like, I refreshed myself with the other two last night, and I was like, I can't do the third one again. I'm not ready.
I can't live through watching. But it's not so much what happened at the end. It's just you don't want it to end.
No.
You don't want this love story to go the way that it's going. But the ending, I will get into that in a minute. It was such a beautiful episode, and one that I've not experienced TV or movie wise in a long time. I have not been hit in the face like that. I can't even say when.
Yeah, the only the only gripe I had, and I think Nick pointed it out as well, is the emotional blackmail that like I say he does use towards Bill when he's telling them what he wants to do when he ends it, and Bill just says I can't do it, and he goes, "Well, if you I want you to love me the way I love," and I was like, that's shitty.
Yeah, that's what I said to my other half.
I said exactly the same thing. I said, what a thing to put on a person.
That's exactly what we said.
And Anth was like, from Frank's point of view, in his head, it's not him who's having to go through the dying and the pain, it's him. And it's so two-sided, because I said exactly the same thing when he told him what his wishes were. And I was like, what a thing to put on a person that you love. That is so hard and a heartbreaking decision to make. But then Anth was like, it's him who's living it, not the other way around. I totally get that though.
But Frank is still able-bodied in the respect of that he still had the use of one of his hands. One of them he didn't. I think it must have been a stroke.
I think he had a stroke. I said that, yeah.
So he still had some use in one of his hands. So he could still hold a glass. He could still take a drink. He could still crush his own tablets. He could still done it himself. But for some reason, he put that responsibility onto Bill. And I thought, if you want to go that way, that's fine. That's your choice. And, doff my cap to you if you've got the ability to do it. Yeah. But to take the responsibility away from yourself and put it onto somebody else, the person that has loved, adored you, given you the best. Was it 6 years they were together? I couldn't work out the timeline. So
2003, the 20. No, 2000.
They met 4 years. They met 4 years after the outbreak. So
16 years.
14, 15 years.
Right. Okay. Yeah. So they've been together for a very long time and become an incredibly established couple. So from that point of view, the outcome does speak for itself, know. And it was about 10 seconds into that last episode where I saw him come out with the very first meal that he made Frank when Frank miraculously fell into his life. Yeah. And I was like, I know what's going to happen now, please don't let that happen. No. And I was right, and I didn't want to be right because I didn't want it to happen. But again, watching the relationship grow, and especially when they do the flashback where Joel and Tess come and they're sitting and eating food.
So well done. That was
and Bill sat there and going, don't show him, don't go in there, don't do it. And he's going to, it's just like, he does it anyway, he just walks off.
He just ignores him.
Completely ignores him.
It was almost like Joel and him were the same person.
Yeah.
And Tess and Frank were the same person, because the minute that they walked away, Joel's temperament just changed.
He's like,
completely, and he's like,
put
going away from me. Like, but they were on this, and I think that's why they worked, because they were on the same wavelength.
When he knew it was Joel, he said, "Joel, I don't like you, but but you're the closest thing I had to a friend." So I was like, "All right." Nice
honesty.
But yeah,
Bill was nothing but honest.
I know Goodwill. So you've been a little bit quiet there, bless you. So what do you think about this one?
Was it bollocks a filler episode? It was perfect. It was perfect episode, and it fleshed out a character that needed to be fleshed out, because it was alluded in the game who Frank was.
Mm-hmm.
It was alluded.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And they executed this story. Yes, it's a side story, but it needed to be done, and they executed it so bloody well from start to finish. The one thing I do love, and I when he went to Home Depot and he's stacking up that trolley, I immediately thought, I know more than you. In Parks and Recreation, when he says it to the Home Depot staff, can I help you? No, thank you, I know more than you. And like, Bill is the ultimate post-apocalyptic Ron Swanson, because that lad knew everything. He knew how to cure meat. He knew how to build perimeter fences. He knew how to do defenses, traps, hunt.
Yes.
He is the ultimate man. And the way it played out when Frank literally fell into his life.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And the way that, I mean, this was Nick Offerman's best performance of his career.
Yeah. It's opus,
100%.
100%.
And just, I mean, alone when he's playing the piano, and you can, the pain you could feel through his singing.
Mm-hmm.
And Frank just goes, who was the girl? And it wasn't a girl. And it became so tender, and everything about Bill and Frank's relationship was so goddamn tender and loving. Sorry, go on.
You felt the electric in that moment.
You did.
Right in that moment when he realizes, oh, okay, I'm not mad here. This is genuine. Love that scene.
They complemented each other, and I knew they would, because obviously Bill's going to get the food and the wine, and Frank just does that with the skirting board, and he's like, this man's got it together, but there's a bit missing.
Yeah.
There's that little bit missing. And then as it progresses, you can see how clean the house has become. And then obviously they have arguments about, I want paint to do the house, I want this, I want to do the boutique, I want to clean the statue, I want flowers and stuff. And I just, that is how a couple who loves each other deeply and passionately, that's how couples behave. They are they fight like cats and dogs. And the one this is going to probably make me a little bit upset. The strawberry scene.
Mhm.
When he gets the strawberries and Bill just does that laugh, because let's be honest, right? And I'm gonna reference it. When you had, after the pandemic, after lockdown, when you had that one thing you not had for so long, how did that make you feel? What, was it? It could have been a Mackie D's, it could have been whatever, but having something that you've not had for a long time. And he symbolized that in that one little bite, and he goes like that, and I'm like, yeah.
To be fair, I'm probably the only person that would go back into lockdown. So
Yeah, me too. Actually,
but it was that, and there was one thing he said, and it stuck with me, and bastard hell, it made me upset. He said to Frank, "I was never afraid, until I met you."
Yeah.
And I thought, that at that point, I was like, "Oh, it's all gonna go south from here."
Yeah.
But
like,
there was,
fun,
there was a lot, and I think Paul hit it as well. There was a bit of false jeopardy generated throughout as well when the Raiders came, and like he's on the table and he's bleeding out, and he's like, call Joel, Joel know what to do, and you're like, oh, is this the end? Is this it? And then I sat down, I was like, no. Because I knew there was I knew that there was going to be a bait and switch for that. But I think the way they the way it ended, that I was in floods of tears all the way through that last segment, floods of tears, because it was so beautifully done, and you knew that Bill would not be able to live without Frank.
Yeah.
You knew, because for a man who was so independent, such a solo survivalist. I mean, that little bit when they're going through his house, he's like, try and find me your new world order, motherfuckers. And you're like, yeah, this lad's got it. But to see that change from that, and for being alone for 4 years up to Frank, to I cannot see, there is no point in being here without you. And you knew he was going to do it. You knew he was going to crush the pills in his drink. And Frank looks at him, and when Bill's pouring it into the drink, Frank already knows what Bill has done.
Yeah.
And he goes, so it was in the bottle as well. And it just
enough to kill a horse or something.
enough to kill a horse, And the scene before where he's like, you're gonna make me breakfast, you're gonna make me some toast, we're gonna go to the boutique, we're gonna get some fancy clothes, you're gonna marry me, we're gonna have some dinner, you're gonna crush these pills, and then we're gonna go to sleep, and I'm gonna go to sleep in your arms. I mean, I'm fucking well, I don't know. Because
honestly, there was one line he said, and I think everybody will remember this for the rest. If they watch that episode, you were my purpose.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
When Bill said that to Frank, you were my purpose.
Yeah.
I turned around and I looked at my other half and went, and I don't cry at things, but that's the closest I have been in ever. And I looked at my other half and I went, you were my purpose. Oh my God, that is the nicest thing anyone could ever say to anyone. That not that it's in that weird danger stalker area of being too obsessed with somebody, but it was the fact that they dedicated their lives to each other because they hadn't had the outside interrupting them. They were able to experience a relationship as just two people waking up every day, loving each other, arguing with each other, eating with each other, mowing the lawns, making his guns clean, whatever they were doing. 14, 16 years of that. And they become so self-reliant on each other. There was no other way that episode would have ended.
No, so,
because
they
just couldn't.
Because I liked how they made. They didn't make it so obvious. You knew they were each other's world, but Frank's did it a different way. Like, say, Frank was more loving and caring than Bill, but you could tell he was besotted because, like, with Frank being an artist, as you found out, when you looked up through the house, there was just litters of paintings of Bill in different ways and different mediums. So I know like I say, there's not much to draw on and like going off people, like using different people think, but it just shows how much he loved and cared about him as well. And again, like the, watching this show, I wasn't expecting to use the word love, and feeling that love in that episode made it, like I said, give this show a lot more class and a lot more credence. It's not just another zombie show. It's not another survival show. It's a character-driven story based on the characters that are involved. And now, knowing, like say, the characters that we might see, or even new ones that's not part, that ones who've not been introduced yet, that gets me excited. And even though I hated the second game for obvious reasons, I'm interested to see how much balls they've got to take that now. That's the thing, because they're going to be, as Goodwill said, they're going to have to make some decisions, and some of the decisions are going to take some balls to make. Because let's be honest, people who haven't played the game, and they watch the show, they're going to be fucking pissed off. They're going to be angry.
I know what happens anyway through the fact of the world of we can't let people just enjoy shit.
Thank you, internet.
But yeah, I saw an interview with the guy who plays Frank Murray, and he was saying that when he sat down and watched that episode with his partner on Monday, his partner turned to him at the end of the episode and said, "I don't want you to get ill. Please never get ill." And it scared his partner so badly. And he said it just took me aback that my partner was so affected by something that wasn't me. It was a character I was playing. That had absolutely no relevance or relationship to the way I am as a person
and how our lives are.
But he saw him as me, and he saw me in Frank, and he got so upset. He said it was like it took me ages to get him to sort of understand that I'm here. I'm not going anywhere. I don't intend on just jumping out the window. Or
such a powerful episode. The consideration in Bill, though, when he told in the letter and said to Joel, "Don't go upstairs. Don't open the door. The window's open for a reason."
He wrote that. He must have written that ages before that he did that, though.
So I think he knew.
The timeline, though, they suggest, isn't it? Because the 80s music clicked in just as Tess and Ellie and Joel were leaving in the first episode. So from the first episode of them walking out the door to when Joel and Ellie get to Bill and Frank's, I don't know the timeline in that. But guessing that Frank and Bill, it must have been at least, because he said it, didn't they say it was about 8 to 10 days if Bill didn't reset the music,
that.
So you're talking possibly about a month, isn't it? I reckon they've been gone around a month or so, judging by the rot on the food and the table and
the dust as well.
They said it was like the 29th, because he dated the letter like the 29th of August,
right?
And I think this is literally set up possibly exactly 20 years after the outbreak. But when you're right. When you look at it, you look at the dust and you look at the decay. This has been a month or two.
So he knew.
So it was one of those things when the 80s music kicked in, and obviously Ellie had cracked the code, and she told us about the code because we would never have known about it. And that was that short little interaction she mentioned about Bill and Frank, which was the only bit you got in the first episode. It was like, because it made you sit there and go, because the 80s music was playing when they went downstairs into the survivalist, Mecca, I suppose you call it. And then
my husband's haven.
But then you've got Ellie still going, "Can I have a gun?" And he's like, "No." All the way through, "Can I have a gun?"
Absolutely not. No.
Like, you're 14.
I hope she does get a little rifle like towards the end or something like that. But yeah, I haven't got the words to do the justice of how well and amazingly well put together this episode was done. Because even like the pace and I know we've talked about we were talking the other night when Sam had just watched the new Black Panther movie that we thought 30 minutes could have been cut out and one side quest taken out would have made a better film. It's like the editors have got things so right in this, and the timing as well. I just hope it continues on the same bit. And again, we've seen brutality so far, we've seen scary so far. and if anything's to go by, it's going to ramp up in the intensity as well, especially when the
Yeah.
humans start getting involved. Because, like I say, I know like the monsters are scary, and that always brings the element to it. But there's nothing scarier than lawless
Yeah.
humans when, like, say, there's no rules and no one to tell them not what to do.
Absolutely. Can I just run one thing past you because it's making me brain confused. The stuff on the floor that's connected to the clickers, isn't it? And if you touch that, they feel it.
Depends
That's
if it's
the
alive.
mycelial.
If it's
Yeah.
alive.
So yeah, I've seen. So Joel pointed out ones that were dead, and that he says
Yeah.
that's kind of looks like it's been dead for a while. But the live ones, I am right. If you were, because you had to avoid them in the game, didn't you? Because if you touch it,
They're all
connected to
connected.
that. They're all connected.
Yeah.
It's like a living organism, isn't it?
Yeah. So
Yeah,
like
right.
when in episode 2, obviously when the shoot that's infected in the
Yeah.
town hall, you can see it wrap around the fingers, and then it wraps around the fingers of the ones outside that were writhing in the sun, and they go.
Yeah, got ya.
And tested say it's like it's a hive mind. It's a mycelial network where all the fungus is. I mean, that is a real thing. That's what's terrifying. That
I've heard a lot of reports over the last couple of weeks since this show's come out about how real this is.
And so it is all connected, and I would love to see how they do play that out, how they do use that.
Interesting. I wanted to make sure before I left that part was clear in my brain before I'm going to the next episode, because I couldn't remember.
No, it's
I mean, my biggest worry is that now we've had these first 3, the setup and the side story, the side quest. You've now got the middle 3. Now, traditionally in TV shows, you get your first 3, and they're like, "Wow, look at me, we're here. This is the big bang." And then the middle 3 are usually a bit, they're a bit. I don't know if they are, because it's HBO. They've got the money.
Yeah,
they're not relying on heavy CGI, except for all the big shots of the landscapes and things. Like it to me, it looks like the majority of the clickers and the mushroom sneeze on the wall, that all looks like it's been done with practical effects, which as you know from
Makeup.
the conversations we had in our last show that we did, that I am a huge proponent for practical effects. So for me, I think that's where they are clever, because you look at Amazon big budget, the amount that Amazon will spaff on a TV show like The Lord of the Rings.
Spaff. Oh, that word does not get used a lot.
I loved that TV show. I thought it was great. I think far too many people go in, like you say, with your hardcore, wanky attitudes about how things should be because that's the way it is. Get over it. It doesn't matter. I mean, I have my opinions when it comes to reboots and stuff like that, but side quests, side stories, a bit of a prequel, it doesn't really hurt. You can either choose to include it in your canon or not. But Amazon spent, I think they said it was $1 million or over $1 million per episode for Lord of the Rings, right? Now, I don't know how much they spent on each episode of this, but it seems like it's not special effects driven. Therefore, they're not saying this is the biggest thing you've ever seen on television, you know, all that sort of stuff. They concentrated solely on the story rather than the.
And if you've got a solid story, fuck what's going on around it. As long as the story is solid, consistent, and bloody good, then regardless, fuck the scenery and that and how much money they've spent into it. But I do believe there's a lot of practical effects in this, and I am living for that clicker makeup.
They've emphasized
phenomenal.
Yeah, they've emphasized behind the scenes the practicality of practical effects, that the actors can visually react to what they are seeing in real time. But I think there will be a lot of comparisons between Rings of Power and The Last of Us, and they'll be like, this series was $1.4 billion. This was a few $100 million. Look at the, you don't have to spend billions and billions on this if the story is tight and the story is good. But I think going back to you know, that we are a third of the way through, and the middle sometimes does sink in shows. But I think they've deliberately done 9 for a reason. And if you play the game, the game is huge. You know that there's easily 20, 30 hours if you take your time with it to build the world. If they can distill 20, 30 hours worth of a game into 9 hours or 9.5 hours, and they make it tight, could be a winner.
But the thing is with the game as well, a lot of the game is pushing, as you said earlier, pushing Ellie around in a raft, going through tunnels. Take them elements out of it and just keep the key story facts. Like, as you said, the main story is Joel wants to get, well, there's 2 main stories. Get Ellie to, like, west, to basically to the where it's going to be looked at. But it's got to be played out in 2 parts, hasn't it? So the first part is Joel needs to find Tommy. So that'll be the mid-season, I think. Because when he finds Tommy, with him being a former Firefly, he'll tell him where the centre is. And then the last 3 episodes will be the journey with Joel and Ellie to go to that centre. And then shit's going to get real.
But let's not forget.
Really real.
Let's not forget as well, now that streaming services and television networks as well are starting to understand that nothing has to be a tight 45 or a tight 1 hour. This was an hour and 4 minutes because it worked as an hour and 4 minutes. Going back to Stranger Things, look at that. They did an hour and a half, an hour and 40 minutes.
2 hours and 2, yeah.
If it worked and if it fits, do it.
If it's needed to tell the story and not just fill it with shite, then make it 2-3 hours. I don't care, as long as the story is strong enough to be carried in that time.
Do you think they're going to show all their cards with regards to the, like you briefly touched on it earlier, but all the different kinds of infected that you have? I mean, you've got the clickers, which we all know. I mean, even I knew about the clickers before I even watched this, because it's just standard knowledge. But then you mentioned you got the bloaters, but the one I want to see, which is something that I have seen a picture of because my other half Googled it and went, look at this, was the Rat King. The Rat Kings. I want to see one of those before this season is out. I want to see a Rat King.
I remember them.
I don't know if they come up in season 2 or in The Last of Us 2, or if they're in this in the original game. But
that's why it's in the second one,
right? Okay, but I want to see one. I am so fascinated by this concept of amalgamation of people that have turned into one person that have become such a grotesque thing that would put the shits up of anyone seeing that thing. So
I think with
I've gone.
Who's gone? No, we can hear. We've lost Sam. No, we can hear everyone. But I think with like the different monsters and stuff like that give us the clicker so early, I think there's got to be something big. I think there's got to be something extra to come in with that element. But because I know they give a lot, like looking at the trailers, and you've done well staying away from them. They have given little hints and little clips of what potentially is to come, like in the next few episodes. And I think it is going to be quite close to the game, like when it comes to the end and type thing. Other than, like, say, the very end part of the game, but there's certain elements and certain things that I would love to see. I would love to see a bloater, like say, just to see how disgusting and how vile, especially if they made it as bad as it can be. That would be quite an interesting element. But remember, these are things that's evolving from fungi and stuff as well. So when they're going out in the world, in the in the countryside, it's like almost like nature's taken back over of everything. We might see things we've never seen in the game as well. There might be something that they've just re-established or brought back out that we weren't aware of, and that again is really exciting.
I think the concept or the notion. Oh, she's back.
I think the sound went completely. My Bluetooth unconnected, and then I was like, "What?" And then all of a sudden it went connected. I was like, "Oh, okay, I didn't do anything." But sorry about that.
I think the concept or the notion of another horde type apocalyptic bad guy is just quite boring to me, the concept, because like you say, every single one of these apocalyptic zombie, I don't know, whatever you want to call it, there's always a horde of something. It's never just a few. There's always like a running horde that's gonna take out everyone, and it's like, really, don't make that the end, because that will annoy the shit out of me. If it's going to be a horde of people dragging someone off somewhere, and you know, I don't know how this one ends.
The only thing I would suggest is watch Michael Keaton. Is it Michael Keaton? No, Michael Keaton. Michael Douglas in Fallen Down.
No, that's me. That's my everyday life. That is my everyday life. I feel like Michael Douglas on many occasions.
Yeah, I think that's the way. Like, if they do that type of ending where you see Joel go full, like just bad day and kicking ass.
Full Douglas.
That would be amazing. But yeah, I don't think, like, with the ending we got in the game, I don't think they can won't move too far away from it, because it sets the scene, and it's the only way the second season is going to work either.
Right.
So
I know it just feels. I think the problem is with them leaving it 10 years from the game to the adaptation. You also miss a lot of the. You've put yourself in a situation where in that 10 years, from The Walking Dead first coming out, and how many copycats and apocalyptic movies and TV series we've seen since then, in these last 10 years alone,
I think
we have got used to a certain concept and a certain trope that they tend to use in those things. And I just, whilst I understand it's integral to the story, I just really hope they find another way of spinning it so it's not so cheesy.
My prediction is episode 7 will have a major zombie, like a zombie attack. I think that's what will lead up to episode 7. Then 8 and 9 will follow the ending in the game. That's what I've got a feeling where we might see like some fuck off massive monsters and stuff like that, or or some human horde type element. But I think episodes 8 and 9, just because of the emotional trauma that's to come, I think you can't have it any other way.
I think I agree. Sorry.
See, as someone who hasn't played the game, they looking at the characters set up that you've got already, nothing will be as traumatic as that side episode. I can't see me giving a shit enough about any of the characters as much as I did about Bill and Frank, and they are side guys. They are practically NPCs. Do you know what I mean? They are the people that you breeze past. But they are the people that I actually give a shit about. I don't really care about Ellie. She's an arsehole.
Yeah.
Joel is a moody sausage fingered smint eating whiskey drinker that I just it's like
fingers.
He eats kids in bonfires. Do you know what I mean? It's like I just, it's going to take a long while for me to have the faux empathy you get for characters in TV shows, because I find that I get bored quickly with people. But this has got my attention. This has got me wanting to watch the next episode, which I haven't had in a long time. But they've got to do something to make me like them more. I think, and I know they will, but it doesn't feel like it yet, because coming off the back of that last episode. See, episode 4 is not going to be able to get there, I don't think. I think episode...
But I think that's the thing. We don't need a high one. It's either going to be action-packed or something's got to happen, something's got to change type thing.
Yeah.
But
I think episode 4 is action-packed, because they do... if you watch it on Now TV, they do right after the credits. It's like on the next episode sort of thing.
I don't watch those.
Yeah, and it's only like 10, 15 seconds. But I think there is going to be a shift.
Yeah, well, I think the writers would have look at the emotional impact this is going to have on people. We now need to come in exploding on the next one. We need to lift it up from what you've just gone through on the last one.
But I think I think the reason why we're enjoying it as well, because as you said, some of the characters aren't likable. You're not meant to like them in a way at this moment, but they're making decisions that make sense. they're not treating the audience stupidly either.
Yeah.
And I think that's very key to why this is so engrossing and keeps you captivated as well, because it's not simplifying things to the point where you feel stupid, but they're not doing things where you're thinking, the fucking arsehole, why are you going in that room? Or dickhead, why are you going down them stairs? Or
Yeah.
why are you picking up, why have you left the axe? Like, anything that they're doing is for a purpose. And like, even like when you go back to the first episode, when Joel goes in the room and he lifts everything out of the, like, say, the crawl space under the thing, and the simple things that he is hiding, like a crowbar, an axe, the tools that you can use, but if you left them lying about where there's no law, people would take them. So he's putting them in places, and it's cleverly done, and common sense things. It's about survival, and I say all them aspects I'm kind of noticing, and I'm like, we've not had a show or even a movie that's treated us with respect before as much as this is doing so far.
Yeah.
I think a good thing that they did do, though, in that first episode was they cut out the unnecessary. So that fight over the battery, we didn't need to see it. We didn't need to see a woman that claims that she was Ellie's reason that she went into Fedra. You know, we didn't need to see her get into a gun battle with that dickhead that stole the battery, that was knackered anyway. We didn't need to see that. In the second episode, there was something very similar. I can't remember what it was. I think we didn't see the people they were supposed to meet at that point. We didn't see that fight, but we saw the aftermath, so we got the gist of it. And they didn't even say, oh, look, there's been an accident. Ooh, look, everybody's dead. You know, like they do in films and they do in TV shows. They have to point out the obvious.
Shit out of it.
But that's
and it's like, leave it. We got it. We're not.
It's the Halloween effect. Like, see, I always harp back on this. It's like, you don't need to know why Michael Myers is evil or why Michael Myers is a bad guy or why he does it. It's the fact that you get to think about it and you get to make up your own mind. And it's the same type of situation with these. You don't see them, but you can imagine what the fight was like.
Yeah.
Or what was like being in prison. Because we've seen them over and over again in countless situations.
You don't need to oversaturate us with everything.
It's like if they remake Batman again, we don't need to see the Waynes get killed in the alley again. We don't need to see that anymore. We know how they die. We know Martha gets killed, but anyway.
But it was integral. It was integral enough that they had to mention the fact that that happened as part of the story to get Joel and Tess to take Ellie with them.
Yeah.
So they needed. Is her name Marlene? Was it Marlene? No, that's
Marlene.
Oh, it's something like that, wasn't it? The woman, but they needed to explain the fact that she was clearly gonna cark it, or she was on the edge of carking it. So they needed him to take her and go. And I like the fact, like you say, they just allude to things. They don't necessarily talk you through every single thing. So from that point of view, that does give me hope for the next 6 episodes. Thinking, okay, we're going to get treated like actual grown-ups that can use our brains, that can understand. We don't need A, B, C, D. We can go, A to G without worrying about the in-between bit. We get it. We understand. You've alluded to it. Let's move on.
Cool.
So
great. And like I said, the only thing I was going to left to ask, but we pretty much answered at the start, was how many seasons do you think you're going to get of this show? I think 3, probably
3.
Anything more, but as I said, I wouldn't be sad if we got spin-offs as well. That's the thing. So
We've got to just see how it pans out, and maybe in 3 episodes time we should come back and have this exact same discussion about the next 3 episodes and see how that feeling of 3 sounds.
I mean, as someone who's not played the game, I don't know the second story. I only know, like I say, what wankers are ruined for me. But I know the fact that as someone looking in who knows that there's 2 games, my brain goes automatically to 2 seasons because of the way. But from what you guys have said and how long the second season takes to play out, the way it does, there's going to be that whole first season leading up to the inevitable of what we know happens, and then afterwards. So I do believe you could be right for 3 seasons, because the 3rd season will deal with after
the ramifications.
Or it could
after
be
the fact.
a part, Last of Us Part 2, Part 1. Part 2.
I think you might be right.
The second game, you could split it down the line, so you can have the first season up to the point where I did not
Yeah,
continue.
yeah.
And then then
Yeah.
the second part afterwards, that would work perfectly fine.
Yeah.
I don't think many people have watched that third season though. I think
potentially
they'll
not.
be too
Or
angry.
they'll be sitting there with the rage saying, "Bring him back." But anyway,
Moving on.
moving on. Spoilers. So yes, that like I said, that is our pretty much talk. Like, I know we went into a bit more detail, but like I say, I'm so for this show, and I didn't. Like I say, I had expectations through, which rightly or wrongly I shouldn't have had. But this is just blown as it's taken out my expectations and like I say improved on it and given us things that I didn't think I'd want or need and just give us more of it. So please
Yeah,
keep it
but
coming.
Isn't it lovely though that you've gone into a show with some expectation and it's actually been met?
Mm-hmm.
Like for once, you've not walked away and thought, "Oh, that was a bit shit."
That's the thing. It's because they've not tried to be too clever. They've kept the blueprints
Yeah.
and just went, right, these characters are interesting. What can we tell? What story can we tell? Oh, I like this character. Give it a little bit more. It's thing. The only person that they haven't done that with yet is Ellie, because I think, as you said, she's a bit softer in the game, and she has a more of a likability factor. In the show, she hasn't yet, but we do. As I said,
It will come.
It'll come, but there's the darkness to her as well, and that's the intriguing part. So it's left a bit that's like, I want to know more, but it's not like where in the game you kind of fell in love with her and Joel. It's kind of like you it's like you've got a stick and you want to poke them and say, give us more, tell us what you're about now.
It's almost like we're going to have to earn their...
Oh, fuck off. I earned all the achievements last time. I'm not doing it on the TV show.
You're going to have to earn it on this one too.
But genuinely, as someone who's not played the game, in my head, I want to know what makes Ellie tick. I don't need to know her backstory. I don't need to know how she became immune. I don't need to know if she was born immune, if she was experimented on, her mum was experimented on, if she was born in an incubator and they poked her with sticks. I don't need to know that. That to me is kind of irrelevant. It's how she applies how that immunity to the relationship, if that immunity has anything to do with that morbid fascination she has with watching the death. When she actually first properly kills someone who I'm guessing it'll come, I don't know, but if she actually eventually kills a human, because that was something she did ask Joel. She said, have you killed real people? You know, how many of these have you killed? And she was asking him all questions about death. So I do think there's going to be an inevitable situation where she kills another human being, and I want to know how she's going to react to that, because of seeing how she acts watching Joel do it. There's something there, and I want to know what that is, and that intrigues me.
Twisted.
That really intrigues me. So that's where I hope it goes, somewhere a bit more, not concentrating on the father-daughter or whatever you want to call that dynamic that they might have. I want to know the weird shit. I want to know the really messed up shit. That's where my brain goes.
Okay. What about you, Goodwill? I know you've been very quiet, bless you.
Have I?
Looking very serious.
Yes, there's been some mention in the chat that you're not smiling enough.
Okay.
Just smile.
Damn you, Goodwill.
Yay, death!
Yay! Yay! We did just talk about
post-apocalypse.
such one of the most emotionally driven episodes ever in a TV series, and we're expecting Goodwill and everyone to smile about it. I don't think that's
Yeah,
going to
you know, it
happen.
wasn't tears, it was tears of joy. You know, that's the person I am. No, I'm very, very happy. Like I said, I went in with no expectations, as you know. And I have been very pleasantly surprised at the production quality, how it's been written, how it's acted, the lot. So I'm looking forward to the next 6 episodes, and just see how they play it and what they change from the game. Because when people say, "Oh, well, they've done this change and they've done this change," you're like, "Oh God!" But these have been changes that have complemented and have really like made it. They've made the show better. Like I said, you know, changing from spores to tendrils,
Bean sprouts,
yeah, and stuff like that, and you know, shifting it back to 2023 instead of 2000. Stuff like little tiny stuff like that has, for me, enhanced the show and made it better. The games themselves are great. You can't take anything away from the games with this show. The show is its own thing. Enjoy the show for what it is. Enjoy the games for what it is. And if the first 3 episodes are anything to go by, we're in for a real treat.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah,
Yeah.
cool.
I think that's a nice way to end it as well there. So Goodwill got the final word in. Well done, sir. But yeah, so thank you guys for coming on and talking about it. I didn't expect us to be talking about it for 2 hours, but well done.
It's me. I'm doomed to make you talk for hours.
No, it's fine. Don't worry. So yes, I'm trying to think now. Like I said, we will come
This
back and
Sunday.
revisit this after 3 episodes.
Yeah,
The next
let's
3
go
episodes.
another 3 episodes and then do it, as
Do it.
opposed to just going into one big fuck off. Let's talk about the whole thing kind
Yeah.
of thing.
So do a Last of Us Part 2 soon.
Yeah.
Yes, so we are back again on probably YouTube on Sunday with Jake's wonderful idea of talking about jump the shark moments.
I fucking wait.
Yes, so that's going to be interesting. A lot of Batman
gonna be-
references, I guess.
Yeah, and imagine. So yeah, we're going back home on Sunday, back to YouTube. It's 7:30.
It is indeed, yes. And like I say, we've got a lot of things planned going forward as well. So you'll be seeing these faces a lot more, and hopefully more guests and new faces as well coming up soon. I think we've got Jump the Shark moments this Sunday, and then the Sunday after we've got a Simpsons episode. Is it? Talking about the Simpsons?
Yes, I believe so. I haven't got my list in front of me. All my notes are all piled up there. I think it's The Simpsons, but we'll confirm it all on Sunday. This is a filler episode.
Trying to get that one in there. Yeah. So,
Hey.
anyone else want to say anything before we wrap up?
Yeah, go and subscribe to Patreon. Anyone who hasn't already, go on, join us. If not for anything, just come and watch my new Game of Thrones podcast.
Game of Thrones.
Game of Thrones, Game of Thrones.
That's
It's
it.
actually pretty good. We're going to call it the Game of Thrones now.
I'm going to do a shameless plug for my page.
Yes.
Yeah, so hop on Facebook. We are Bleeding Marvelous under Facebook, bleeding with an A because I'm dyslexic, so that stuck. Well, I'm not. Yeah, well, that's another story. TikTok, it's Bleeding Marvelous, and Instagram, it's Bleeding Marvelous.com. We also have a website, bleedingmarvelous.com.co.uk. Either or both works. We sell weird shit to weird people, just like yourself.
Yay.
Yeah, so take a look. Hopefully buy something. If not, just join us on the Facebook page. We're a bit of a larger community than these guys, but these guys, these guys. I was going to say something really nice then.
Oh,
but,
come on,
you
then.
know,
Sorry. Go on.
Right.
But these guys.
but these guys are welcome anytime. Any of you are welcome to post anything you want on the page at any point. And yeah, I will make sure to plug you guys as much as I can.
Thank
Thank
Because
you very much.
it is. I mean, you've accepted me, and I'm an outsider, and I'm a.
I keep
You're
telling
an
everyone,
honorary- you're an
everyone's
honorary
northern
northerner.
of somewhere. There's always someone
Yeah.
north of somewhere. But
I
yes.
did, after the last time we spoke, I did go on your website straight away and instantly had to share it with my best friend. I was like, check this shit out.
But we'll be at the next convention we've got is in Aberdeen in March, and then after that, loads more all over the country. So
I did notice that you've been confirmed for the Love of Horror in November, isn't
Yes.
yes, yeah, that was a big one. That was massive. The people, hundreds of traders applied for that this year, and we were quite lucky to get in. So
it? Cool.
yeah, I've taken that as a
Excellent.
massive compliment. So a little bit
It's
of
a
an
big win.
egotistical, yeah. I'm like, oh, yeah.
Yeah, because I think I've actually booked time off work. I think because it's in Manchester, isn't it? So we're gonna.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think me and the wife's actually gonna have a weekend, and we're gonna go to that convention. So I will be said. I know you made a joke about live vlogging, but I probably will video some shit when I'm there as well.
Well, just vlog anyway. Just vlog. Just go. Oh look, this person sells absolute shit. Oh yeah, it stands. Hi. Fine.
Just come and sit with you and say, "Tell us about your day." But yes.
Yeah, I tell you, they're manic. It's manic at that place. So
It's heaving. The floor where all the stalls are, it is. If you don't join the queue, you are literally pushed out. You got to go around the way. But it's fantastic. Absolutely fantastic weekend.
Cool. Are you twitching any more this week, Goodwill, or next week?
Tuesday, 6:30, part 5 of the Far Granville Far Cry 5 playthrough. Some more shoveling fun with David Spade. And breaking news, the Dirty Boys are coming back together for a playthrough of the Power Wash Simulator, where me and Jake get to clean Lara Croft's dirty manor. So we will be doing that sometime towards the end of next week.
Jake is in the chat, so hi, Jake.
Also,
Dirty Boys!
Just to put some pressure on Goodwill as well, because we did discuss this the other day. There may be news coming soon of a new Patreon episode where him and the lovely Graham will be talking all about Trek. So hopefully that will be coming soon as well.
He's going to be joining me in the Patreon circle. I was in the meeting. You most certainly did.
Yes.
I don't even like Star Trek.
How many outfits you got?
Shut up.
Yes. So again, like I say, thank you for joining us for our little experiment tonight. So I'll check out the stats and see how that worked later. But yes, follow us on Facebook group, Instagram, what else?
TikTok,
YouTube,
Twitch,
TikTok,
YouTube.
Anything that we can get our hands on or something we can do, we are trying to. And yes, so same bat time, same bat channel, guys.
Stay nerdy, everyone. Bye.
Bye.